So a few weeks ago, I decided to pick myself up the Sony FX30, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over 10 things that you guys absolutely need to know about the new Sony FX30. So before I get into it, the Sony FX30 was actually released about 2 years ago, but in my opinion, it is the absolute best beginner's cinema camera, which is actually pretty budget friendly when you compare it to a lot of other cinema or high-end professional cameras on the market. The one I'm looking at right now is going to be camera A, and the one that I'm looking at right now is going to be camera B. So in the comments down below, go ahead and let me know which camera you think is the Sony FX30 and which camera you think is the Sony a7S III, and we'll see if you guys can actually tell the difference. At the end of this video, I'm going to let you guys know which one is which. So the first thing that you guys need to know is that the Sony FX30 is actually a Super 35 APS-C sensor. So essentially what that means is that the sensor size of the camera is actually going to be a bit smaller than a full frame sensor. So this would mean that you need to get APS-C lenses for the camera. You could still use full frame lenses. However, it would crop at about 1.5 as the size of the APS-C sensor is going to be smaller than the size of a full frame sensor. This does not mean that this is a bad thing for the camera. As a matter of fact, there's lots of high-end movies shot on this size sensor, and the biggest benefit of using an APS-C sensor is basically meaning that you're going to be able to pay half the price of what you would be paying for a full frame sensor. In terms of the disadvantages, it might not be quite as good in low light as a full frame sensor, and you're not going to get quite as much as that blurry background because it is going to be cropped in as if it was a full frame sensor. But other than that, guys, don't be scared of a Super 35 APS-C. It is still going to come out as a great looking image. Okay, moving into the second thing that you guys need to know about the FX30 is going to be the fact that you can actually set this thing up as a shutter angle mode. You do need to upgrade the firmware to 5.0, which if you have not already done so, I have a tutorial. I'll go ahead and put the link down in the description. But once you do that, you can actually switch the camera to a shutter angle mode, which will essentially allow the camera to follow the 180 shutter rule. Basically means it's just going to automatically double whatever frames per second that you're shooting in terms of video, so that you can follow the film industry's rule to get that very nice, beautiful motion blur that you see in films today. Moving into the third thing that you guys absolutely need to know about the FX30 is that it does have a dual base ISO for the S-Log, but it is going to be a little bit different than the FX3 and FX6. The first base ISO is going to be 800, and the second base ISO is only going to be up to 2500. This is going to be significantly lower than the FX3 and the a7S III at that 1250 base ISO. Not saying that it can't handle low light. I'm going to do some tests with the camera over the next few weeks, but it's not going to perform nearly as well in low light compared to a full frame sensor. Moving into the fourth thing you guys absolutely need to know is going to be about the color matching for the Sony FX30. So guys, the Sony FX30 has all the same color profiles as the FX6, as the a7S III, as the FX3. It's going to come with S-Log 10-bit. It's going to come with S-Cinetone. It's going to come with all of the regular picture profiles that all of these other cameras come with. So essentially what that means is that it's going to be very easy to color match this camera with the Sony FX3, FX6, a7S III, and just make your life a little bit easier in post-production, making this camera a great B or even C cam in your Sony ecosystem. Moving into the fifth thing you need to know is the type of SD cards that this camera uses. It's going to take both regular SD UHS version 2 cards as well as the Sony CFast Type A cards. Now, you typically won't need to use the Sony a fast card unless you want to take advantage of the slow motion capabilities, shooting 4K 120 frames per second, shooting in high quality formats like 10-bit 422. But just knowing that you're able to use both is definitely an advantage before you end up buying this camera. Moving into the sixth thing that you need to know is the output on this camera. So you guys can actually hook this thing up to an external monitor using the HDMI port. And if you guys really wanted to, you could take advantage of the fact that you can actually shoot ProRes RAW out of this camera into an external monitor like the Ninja 5. You'll be able to essentially shoot 16K RAW through the Ninja 5 if that's something that you guys want to take advantage of. Okay, moving into the next feature is just the overall design. Guys, this is a very lightweight and portable camera, very easy to fit into a camera bag, and the fact that it is going to be an APS-C sensor means that you can also have much smaller lenses that will fit right onto the camera, just making this ultimately a very versatile, lightweight camera that's easy to use on the go. Moving into number 8, we got the autofocus system on the Sony FX30. Guys, the Sony autofocus system is just absolutely amazing. It's come such a long way since I first got into filmmaking and photography about 5 or 6 years ago. And there's no difference on this FX30, guys. It's gonna have all of the same autofocus capabilities that you're gonna get with a lot of the higher end cameras, and it's gonna work extremely well, especially integrating the new AI systems that they have to track human eyes, birds, cars, things like that. So yeah, you'll be all set with autofocus on the FX30. Moving into the filming capabilities of this camera, you're gonna get some very high-end shooting. That's going to be including being able to shoot at 4K 120 frames per second all the way up at 10-bit log. That's a huge deal. A lot of cameras don't have the capability of doing that. And then also just being able to shoot 10-bit 422 internal in the camera. That's going to be a huge upgrade if you're coming from something like 8-bit in terms of the information that's being captured and being able to be edited and changed in post-production. Guys, the last and final thing you guys need to know about the FX30 is the audio handle that does come with the camera. You guys do need to pay extra if you want to use this audio handle. I didn't personally buy one because I do have an FX6 and it makes a lot more sense to do my interview shoots with the FX6. So if I need to connect an XLR mic, definitely going to do so with the FX6, knowing that that FX30 is just going to be a B cam or potentially a C cam to get another angle of shooting on the field. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you buy it. If you're going to be using this as your A cam, I would suggest going ahead and picking up that top handle. If you're going to be using it as a B or C cam and you already have dedicated XLR mics on your A cam or B cam, then I wouldn't bother buying it, as it would be an added expense that isn't 100% necessary. So guys, that pretty much wraps up everything you guys need to know about the Sony FX30. I'm actually going to be making an entire series about the Sony FX30. That's one of the reasons I bought the camera, to help you guys understand, learn, and make good decisions when purchasing the FX30, as it's such a powerful and very popular camera. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I'll go ahead and put the link down in the description, or I'll have a pop-up come up about the playlist of all of the FX30 tutorial videos and general videos and test videos that I'm going to be doing on this channel. And before I get into the final part of the video, guys, this is camera A. This is the Sony a7S III. And this is camera B, the Sony FX30. So, guys, I'm curious to know down in the comments down below if you guys were able to tell the difference on which camera was which. And if you can't tell, would you be looking to pick up the Sony FX30 for yourself as a B or C cam? Let me know down in the comments down below. And as always, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.